So do you want to start by just like introducing your practice or something a little bit?
Okay, sure. So, my name's Kenny, and I work as an object maker, designer based in Sydney. My practice is based in Sydney, but depends where my work is. I tend to travel places. So with my practice, the basis of my practice, it's based on traditional jewelry and metalcraft techniques, and that's just because that's my background in terms of what I studied and where I got my training. So most of what I do, the primary material tends to be, I guess, metal, just because I know it better than any other materials, but other materials I often introduce just depending on what the specific project is. Yeah.
Also, I would just like to start asking some questions.
Sure.
So the first one is, you've mentioned that your work aims to add value to everyday environments. Do you take any steps to maintain an eco-conscious practice, like sustainability or?
Sure. I mean, that is, I guess, the whole core value or ethics of my practice. Really, I with everything that I create, and often I create work in, I guess, a batch format where only maybe a certain number is created each time, say 20 or 50, depending on how many I need to create for that order. And to do that, basically, the reason for that is so that I don't create, an excess number of, like, basically mass of whatever it is, and basically, to do that, it's sort of like I have control of the numbers that get created, and then once that batch finishes, and then I just go on and create another batch for that order, or for and everything that I create, it's basically created with the intention that it lasts my lifetime or the generation after that, or perhaps even further. And I think to do that with a craft-based practice, it's got to have a couple of things, but I think the most important things would be functionality. I make work that function, and work that doesn't function loses life, and then it just becomes, I guess, like an art object that you look at and you really have no use for. But an art object, it's fine, but for me that's not an intention. If I make a cup, it's got to be a cup that works like a cup, and on the other side it's got to have that aesthetic beauty as well. And whether something's beautiful or not, it's quite an open subject. It's very hard to say what's beautiful and what's not. But I believe that there's definitely a fine line that determines, I guess, to the large numbers, whether something is beautiful or something isn't. And if you have those few things, and I think that particular work has potential to live forever, and thus, in sense, meaning it's something that you want to hold on to, you want to keep, and you're almost heartbroken if it's broken or if it's lost. So in saying that, you don't end up buying another one of that, another one of that, another one of that.
Less waste.
Yeah, so I guess that sort of answers your question.
Yeah.
And to follow on from that, as a handcrafting designer, do you ever feel threatened by mass-produced decor from like Kmart and stuff like that, or does it